That artwork doesn't suit your new look anymore. The one crying is my daughter Natalie, and the one who looks so pleased watching Natalie's tears is my stepfather's daughter Cassandra. She did something this cruel to my precious Natalie. I'll take that painting. Destroying someone's dreams just to steal what belongs to them. How can this person even be considered family? I won't forgive her. I'll fight her with everything I have. It's time to show her a mother's strength. I'm Valentina, a 45-year-old former nurse turned stay-at-home mom. My husband Dante and I have one daughter, Natalie, who's graduating from high school this year. Lately, something has been weighing heavily on my mind. I try to push it aside, but the more I ignore it, the more it consumes my thoughts. The source of my stress is Cassandra, my stepfather's daughter. Cassandra is a 38-year-old beauty influencer and YouTuber. My stepfather, desperate to prove his success to his new wife, allowed Cassandra to move into his luxury penthouse after her last relationship ended. As soon as she settled in, she became obsessed with building her online presence and started posting constantly about her perfect lifestyle. She even started targeting younger audiences to boost her engagement rates. My stepfather is 56, so she's actually closer to my age than his. Maybe that's why she's so desperate to maintain her youthful image. Whether or not she can sustain her influencer career is a sensitive topic, and it's not something our blended family should interfere with, so I've tried to stay completely out of it. But if I'm being honest, I'd rather avoid Cassandra altogether. Since Cassandra's follower count started declining and she had more time between brand partnerships, she began showing up at our house constantly, uninvited and definitely unwelcome. Her behavior and desperate need for attention make me deeply uncomfortable. Valentina, isn't Natalie back from the gallery yet? She's been working on her exhibition pieces and taking advanced art classes. On a random Tuesday afternoon, Cassandra suddenly appeared at my door, made herself comfortable in my living room, and kept pestering me about when Natalie would return. I connect so well with Gen Z followers online. My content always goes viral with the younger crowd, and when I tell them I'm 38, they're absolutely stunned. Well, Cassandra, you do put a lot of effort into your appearance. Oh, stop it, Valentina, you're being too kind. I mean, I know I'm not actually a teenager or anything. I never suggested she was. Cassandra was beaming and chattering so frantically that I didn't have the energy to correct her delusions. She kept boasting about how she relates to teenagers as if she belonged in their generation. Honestly, I couldn't fathom why someone approaching 40 would spend most of her time desperately trying to appeal to teenage followers and their friends. But she's technically family through my stepfather's marriage, so I kept my mouth shut. While she rambled on, Natalie finally walked through the door. Oh, welcome home, Natalie. Hi, Cassandra, you're here. Cassandra immediately lit up and rushed toward her. Natalie was visibly startled and instinctively stepped back, but that didn't deter Cassandra. She launched into her usual overwhelming monologue, bombarding both of us with her manic energy. Oh my God, Natalie, that art supplies bag is gorgeous. Did some rich art patron buy it for you? So adorable. No, I saved up and bought it myself. Oh wow, I'm so envious. Must be amazing to spend your whole allowance on art supplies since you're still a student. I wish I could afford those high-end materials too, but I can't. I have to budget for ring lights and camera equipment and rent for my content studio. For Cassandra, declaring "I'm so envious" was like reaching the summit of her emotional mountain. The route she took might change from day to day, but she always arrived at that same bitter peak. Compared to this toxic habit of hers, her constant oversharing and desperate attempts to seem younger almost felt like harmless quirks. She always had to go on and on about how envious she was, to the point where it became draining. That day, her "I'm so envious" routine had no end. She started with Natalie's art supplies, then moved on to her sketchbooks, her easel, and even my imported face serums. She kept digging for details only to sigh and mutter, "Oh, must be nice," or "I can't afford those luxury brands." Having someone constantly jealous of you is surprisingly exhausting. Oh wow, those macarons from that French patisserie are incredible. They look amazing, so envious. I want some too. Maybe I should swing by and grab a box on my way home, but a whole box for just me seems excessive. Just as I thought Cassandra's one-woman performance had finally paused, she suddenly spotted the elegant pastry box sitting on our marble countertop and let out a theatrical sigh. She stared at it so hungrily that even my polite smile was starting to crack. Still, I forced myself to maintain composure. Why don't you share them with your dad? We received these as a housewarming gift, and the three of us have been enjoying them. But I should be saving money since I'm investing so much in my content creation equipment. That patisserie is incredible, but it's ridiculously expensive. Oh, I really want a macaron, so envious. Once Cassandra reaches the summit of her so envious mountain, she camps there for hours. This is draining. I can't hand over art supplies, sketchbooks, or skincare products, but maybe I should just offer her some pastries. Actually, if I give her some, maybe she'll finally leave us alone. That's how relentless she was, and once again her manipulation wins. All right, why don't we all have some now? Go ahead. No way, are you serious? I'd feel terrible. Even as she pretended to hesitate, Cassandra ignored the delicate plate I offered and grabbed the entire pastry box, devouring the macarons at lightning speed. Wow, that was incredible. These French pastries are always perfection. Natalie and I just stood there speechless. Between the two of us, we managed one or two. Cassandra devoured the rest, and this is the same person who claimed earlier that a whole box would be too much for her. We sat there in stunned silence. Oblivious to our shock, Cassandra, now satisfied and glowing, suddenly perked up as if she had spotted her next target. Is it Natalie's exhibition photos? You did a preview shoot for your gallery opening. Oh my god, that painting is stunning. Only complimenting the artwork, how typical. Excited, Cassandra grabbed the framed photo of Natalie's masterpiece from our living room display and stared at it intensely. So envious. I want to create art like that too. Well, what kind of art did you create when you were Natalie's age, Cassandra? It had been over 20 years since she was a teenager. I wasn't particularly interested in asking, but since she kept obsessing over the painting, I felt obligated to engage. Cassandra pouted, looking frustrated. I never had the chance to pursue real art. Back when I was young, it was all about being popular and getting attention. I focused on my appearance and social media, but seeing Natalie's painting, I kind of wish I had developed actual talent instead. My parents commissioned this piece from a renowned artist who mentored me. I love how sophisticated it turned out. Since Natalie is our only daughter, Dante and I both agreed we wanted to support her artistic journey, investing in something she truly treasured. Natalie visited galleries and studios multiple times before finally deciding on the perfect concept. Of course it was expensive, but it was absolutely worth it. Cassandra clutched the photo frame, studying Natalie's image with an oddly resentful expression. But doesn't your new style clash with this classical painting? Well, I think it works fine, but I was planning to evolve my artistic approach before the exhibition anyway. Natalie has a vision in her mind. She's been developing this series for 3 years just so she can showcase her growth. I want my gallery debut to be completely different from this preview, so I'm going to present a more contemporary collection. Natalie was genuinely excited about her upcoming exhibition. She had poured her heart into this project and had been patiently crafting each piece over the past 3 years. She was thrilled now that her vision had finally materialized. Even though the opening was still weeks away, as her mother, I couldn't help but feel emotional remembering how passionate she was when she first started this series. Natalie chatted enthusiastically, beaming, but Cassandra just nodded dismissively, clearly uninterested in her actual artistic process. Well, forget about Natalie's plans. I want to feature this painting too. I never had a proper art showcase, so maybe I should borrow it and create some content with it for my social media. What? As Natalie and I froze, still maintaining forced smiles, Cassandra confidently pumped her fists in excitement. Isn't this trending lately? Featuring young artists' work in lifestyle content and taking aesthetic photos? So inspiring, right? My followers would probably get so emotional seeing the artistic content. Well, but isn't the whole point that you feature art you actually created or purchased yourself? Wouldn't it make more sense to commission your own artwork or buy something similar? But I don't have money for that. That's why I never invested in real art in the first place. I at least want to create content with art I love. This is perfect. I'll just borrow it today. But this painting was commissioned specifically for Natalie, and she hasn't even had her exhibition yet. Lending it out for someone else's content before then just doesn't seem appropriate. Also, wouldn't the scale be completely wrong for your setup? You and Natalie have pretty different aesthetic styles. Cassandra hadn't even asked us if she could borrow it. She was simply announcing that she would. Besides, Cassandra's content style was flashy and commercial. Natalie's work was sophisticated and museum quality, so the painting was created specifically for her refined artistic vision. That means it would be completely out of place in Cassandra's gaudy social media posts. It's fine, I'll be super careful, and I can figure out the lighting. I mean, can't I just edit it a little? I can totally handle that myself. She casually suggested something outrageous. Editing a precious commissioned artwork herself? There's absolutely no way I'm letting her borrow it. Natalie and I exchanged a look and nodded in agreement. I don't like this idea either. My parents let me take my time developing the concept I loved, and they had this piece created just for me. Cassandra, you should either commission your own artwork or talk to your dad about investing in some pieces. Natalie looked a bit tense, but she clearly expressed her feelings. Even in the face of her firm stance, Cassandra scowled, twisting her mouth and eyebrows in frustration. But if I borrow it from you, it's free, and I can take it home right now. I can set up my ring lights in my studio, ask my photographer friend to shoot some aesthetic content in my apartment. Everything would be free. It's the perfect plan. All you have to do is say yes, Natalie. She genuinely didn't seem to grasp that we were uncomfortable with this. Honestly, it was shocking that a 38-year-old woman was this obsessed with getting everything for free. I looked directly at Cassandra with a serious expression, making sure she clearly understood that we were declining. If something happened to it after lending it to you, it would damage our relationship, don't you think? I can't let you borrow it. I hope you understand. Cassandra, I hate to say this, but the painting was commissioned specifically for Natalie. Honestly, it was quite expensive. It's not something that can just be handled carelessly. Oh, I see. Cassandra pouted but nodded, at least temporarily. But just as I started to feel relieved, her eyes suddenly sparkled. Oh, then just show it to me. You have it here, right? She was pushing aggressively. Under pressure from her persistence, I reluctantly pulled the painting out of the storage room, fighting the urge to tell her off. As I did, I suddenly heard her whisper something. Did you say something? Oh no. Nothing. Wow, what a gorgeous painting. So envious. She stared at the artwork for a while, studying every brushstroke, then for some reason took multiple photos of it. But that day, she left quietly without further demands. After that, I completely forgot that Cassandra had set her sights on the painting. I had no idea that my lack of caution would lead to such a catastrophe. About a week after Cassandra had asked to borrow the painting, something unusual happened. She didn't visit our house even once that week. I started to relax, thinking maybe she had lost interest. It was a peaceful day as usual, and I was expecting Natalie to come home soon since she didn't have gallery work that evening. Just then, I got a text from her. Cassandra asked if she could help me with some digital art techniques, so I said yes. Well, that's unexpected. Cassandra, who's always demanding things, is actually offering something instead. Maybe she felt guilty about always taking advantage of us. I would soon regret giving her even a shred of credit. Hello? I brought Natalie back. About 3 hours later, I suddenly heard Cassandra's overly cheerful voice at my front door. She even gave Natalie a ride home. As I rushed to the door in surprise, I was met with a devastating sight. Natalie. Your artwork. Natalie's precious self-portrait series had been completely altered with garish digital filters and crude editing. Moreover, the original files were corrupted and damaged beyond repair. Natalie was hunched over and kept sobbing. Doesn't Natalie's art look so much more modern now? What? Cassandra, did you edit Natalie's artwork? What the hell were you thinking? I told you before, Natalie has been developing this series for 3 years for her exhibition. Oh, I knew that, but once I started working on it, I thought a more commercial style would suit her better, so I just went for it. And she suddenly got upset, so I had to hurry up and finish. Cassandra laughed, completely unbothered, as I stood there trembling with rage, unable to find the words. Natalie let out a broken sob. This is the worst. I spent years perfecting this series for the gallery. Hearing her voice, my heart shattered. How could she? She did something irreversible and is standing there laughing. I will never forgive her. If Natalie can't fight for herself, then as her mother, I will. I glared at Cassandra, ready to unleash my fury, but before I could say anything, she suddenly shoved past me and barged into the house. Natalie's art style doesn't match that classical painting anymore. It would be a shame to waste such a beautiful piece, so I'll take it instead. Before we could react, Cassandra sprinted straight into the storage room where Natalie's painting was kept, yanked it out of its protective wrapping, and bolted toward the door at lightning speed. Stop. What do you think you're doing? I ran after her to stop her, but Cassandra was shockingly fast. She bolted out the front door, jumped into her car in an instant, and sped off before I could catch her. Hey! Somebody help! She's stealing. I ran barefoot into the street, screaming for help. At this point, she wasn't family. She was just a thief. But her car kept getting farther away. Mom, wait. Just as I was about to chase after her, Natalie grabbed my arm. But Cassandra she took the painting. Just as I turned to Natalie in confusion, a sudden loud crash echoed through the air from the direction Cassandra had driven off in. I spun around, and there it was. Her car had slammed into a utility pole. The hood was bent out of shape, though the damage wasn't severe enough to shatter the windshield. Cautiously, I hurried over and saw Cassandra standing outside her car, completely stunned as she stared at the accident. The painting. There it is, it's safe. I frantically grabbed the artwork from the back seat. The painting, still wrapped in its protective covering, seemed to be intact, but something was strange. Why is it making noise? A shrill electronic beeping was coming from inside the wrapping. As I stood there confused, Cassandra suddenly snapped out of her daze and exploded with rage, kicking her car. What the hell did you do to me? The painting started blaring out of nowhere, and when I reached back to turn it off, I crashed. You owe me. Pay for my repairs and compensation. Her voice was nothing like the whiny, attention-seeking tone she usually used. It was sharp, aggressive, almost threatening. Natalie, who had caught up to me, shouted back. Compensation? You crashed the car yourself. It wasn't my fault. If your damn painting hadn't started blaring, I would have been able to focus on driving. And why the hell was it making noise in the first place? I put a GPS tracker and alarm inside the frame. You always obsess over other people's things and manipulate until you get them, but you gave up on the painting surprisingly fast. And since you took a suspicious number of photos, I knew you were planning something. That's why I set up a security system. Natalie tapped on her phone. The beeping sound from the painting immediately stopped. I was completely impressed by Natalie's foresight. Natalie, that was incredible. I didn't notice a thing. I just couldn't stand the thought of my artwork being taken away without permission. What the hell? What about my car? You better pay for the damages, and I want compensation for emotional distress because of your stupid prank. Compensation? You destroyed Natalie's digital art without permission. Are you ready to take responsibility for that? Cassandra had been trying to intimidate Natalie, but my sudden outburst made her freeze in shock. If Natalie had the courage to protect her painting, then as her mother, I need to show my strength too. You ruined my daughter's artwork that she worked so hard to create. How do you plan to fix this? I'll get a lawyer involved if I have to. I'm not letting this go just because we're family. Wait, a lawyer? And just a minute ago, you were talking about emotional distress, weren't you? You have any idea how much trauma you've caused Natalie? I was just doing my job as a digital artist. Your job as a digital artist? Don't make me laugh. You destroyed her work. That's not collaboration, that's sabotage. And on top of that, you tried to steal her painting. Shut up. Stop yelling. You're going to ruin my reputation. As your stepfather's daughter, keep your voice down. Because of the accident in a residential area, a crowd of neighbors had gathered to see what was happening. Cassandra, realizing how many eyes were on her, started looking around anxiously, her face turning bright red. This isn't ruining your reputation, it's the truth. You destroyed my art and stole my painting. Shut up. Cassandra, who had no problem being aggressive toward Natalie, was now completely unhinged. Her hair was disheveled, her eyes were bloodshot, and there was nothing glamorous about her anymore. As Cassandra kept shouting, panting with rage, Natalie and I could only stare in disbelief. Just then, a neighbor spoke up. I called the police and an ambulance for that unstable woman. Hearing the word unstable made Cassandra's expression darken even more. Who the hell are you calling unstable? I don't need the police or an ambulance. Stay out of this. Don't be so defensive, and face it, you're not a young influencer anymore. Stop trying to steal a teenager's artwork. Shut up. If Natalie can create art, then I can too. I have great aesthetic sense, and everyone tells me I don't look 38. Of course I can produce better content than Natalie's. Don't look down on me. Cassandra screamed, glaring intensely at Natalie. Natalie, completely overwhelmed, took a step back in confusion. I'm not looking down on you. Yes, you are. You've always looked down on me. Always flaunting your talent and artistic success in front of me. I'll say it again, if something looks good in your portfolio, it looks 100 times better in mine. So don't get cocky. It's not about whose content looks better. You clearly have a serious issue with your age. Stop trying to compete with a teenager when you're 38. There's a different kind of creativity and fulfillment that comes with being in your 30s, don't you think? Cassandra was speechless. Laughter erupted from the gathered crowd. Even I was shocked that a grown woman like Cassandra had been competing with a teenager like Natalie. As she stood there trembling with embarrassment, I pressed on. Anyway, Cassandra, you've gone way too far this time. I'm going to tell your dad everything. I'd like to believe he's rational enough to see the truth about you and make the right decision. What do you mean, the right decision? I mean, I hope he cuts off your financial support. And if he doesn't, I'll tell him that my family will be cutting ties with both of you. Cut off my support over this? That's ridiculous. We'll see. As I smiled at Cassandra, who had turned pale, the sound of approaching sirens filled the air. Hearing it, she flinched. Please don't tell him about the art or the painting. I can't lose my lifestyle at 38. I don't want to be looked down on. The only one looking down on people here is you. If losing support is even on the table, then I'll apologize. I'll apologize to Natalie and to you as much as it takes, just please. Finally realizing the gravity of the situation, Cassandra panicked and started desperately apologizing. Even if you apologize, my digital files won't come back. I'll never forgive you. Exactly. If Natalie takes this to court, you'll have a criminal record. You should be worried about more than just your allowance. This can't be happening. As we firmly shut her down, Cassandra turned pale and collapsed to the ground. Just then, the paramedics arrived and began lifting her onto a stretcher. But as they did, she started thrashing and screaming. Let go of me. I'm innocent. I don't know anything about the art. The painting. So you're still not sorry? In that case, we'll make sure to handle this properly. Prepare yourself. At my words, Cassandra's eyes rolled back and she fainted, foaming at the mouth. Well, looks like she really did need that stretcher after all. And with that, Cassandra was loaded into the ambulance and taken to the hospital. Although Cassandra caused an accident, she walked away without a single injury, but in the end, bad deeds always catch up with you. As expected, she was completely cancelled from social media. Her followers quickly found out that she had lured Natalie in under the pretense of helping with digital techniques and then destroyed her artwork. Cassandra thought she could get away with it since she planned the sabotage during her dad's business trip, never considering that anyone would find out. But of course, she was caught. Several art community members had witnessed the destruction through her own livestream. She ended up ruining Natalie's art right in front of her online audience. Why she ever thought she could get away with it is beyond me. She always had terrible judgment. Cassandra and her dad's relationship finally broke down completely. She fought desperately, refusing to be labeled a failure, but her dad was firm. He wanted nothing to do with someone who would harm his own step-family. In the end, she finally gave in like an empty shell of herself. Now broke and friendless, her ego must have been shattered, but she had no time to dwell on it. Although her father's insurance covered the cost of the damaged utility pole, it didn't cover her car repairs. Not wanting to lose her car, Cassandra paid the expensive repair cost to keep it, even though her insurance premium skyrocketed. She just couldn't let go of material things. We also decided to pursue a damages claim for what she did to Natalie's artwork. Apparently, Cassandra had been bragging to her online followers about how she was doing Natalie a favor by modernizing the art she had spent 3 years creating. It was clear that Natalie never intended to alter her work and that Cassandra knew this. If needed, the art community members were willing to testify, so we were confident we could demand proper compensation. Losing her platform and now facing legal action, Cassandra aged well beyond her years. Wanting to stay relevant is understandable, but when taken too far or fueled by insecurity, it often backfires. Cassandra was a perfect example of that. As for Natalie's exhibition, after consulting with her gallery about her corrupted files, they suggested a mixed media approach. To Natalie, incorporating digital destruction into her narrative gave her work a powerful, contemporary edge. Natalie ended up loving her new artistic direction, different from her original concept. On opening night, she displayed the painting we had poured our hearts into supporting. Her smile shining brighter than ever. As Dante and I watched her, we reflected on the past 17 years since she was born, both of us tearing up at the sight of our brilliant daughter. Natalie had protected something precious to her with her quick thinking, and no matter what anyone says, she is my greatest pride. Seeing her standing there, radiant and confident, I knew without a doubt that no matter what challenges lie ahead, Natalie would overcome them.